Angel Montanero Resendiz, also known as a railroad killer, was a murderer in the southern states. His childhood was not an average one. He grew up with many different challenges. As a child, he himself was raped and beaten because he lived and spent most of his time on the streets of Mexico. It kind of ran in the family, as in his mother had also grown up in an abusive household. He did not have a secondary education, as he didn't really leave the nest after barely finishing high school. But he soon, in later years, decided to move to America illegally and worked as a farmer, and this is where it all began.
Angel was spontaneous and disorganized in his killings. He would drift from town to town, taking the railroads, and then from there choosing his next victim. But then he would usually follow the same few steps. Resendiz would scope out the house to see what he was dealing with to make sure he was able to successfully murder the victim. Then he would break in. Before the murder, he would possibly rape, but then ultimately kill by blunt force trauma. His victims were of all ages, but mainly late adults to seniors. From there, he would steal sentimental items from the homes, lurk around for a little bit, and then take women's jewelry to later give to his female loved ones.
He was married to Juliet Dominguez Reyes, but it's unclear what year they actually got married, but he was still considered a loner because he would spend most of his time catching trains going to new towns across the southern states. Resendiz's first victim was John and Jane Doe. Their identity is still unknown to this day. His most famous murder and the one that ultimately got him sent to court was Claudia Benton. He had left his fingerprints at the crime scene, and that had connected him to numerous other murderers in the surrounding areas. The judge had ruled him fit for execution, but his words later on contradicted the ruling. He would say that he couldn't die because he was half angel, and this led a psychiatrist to believe that he was unfit for execution because he had stated all the delusions had taken over.
The vision of being half angel might label him as a visionary killer, but this had no correlations to why he killed. Taken in that he not only raped, but also stole jewelry, then gave it to his mother and wife, it probably felt good to kill for him. Andy Cohen, a crime victim advocate, called Angel a cold-blooded, diabolical, brutal serial killer. Cohen also had mentioned that Resendiz used his publicity for profit and that he obviously knew right from wrong, so the insanity plea was a waste. Over the span of 13 years, from 1986 to 1999, he would have murdered 16, if not more, innocent lives. Then Angel Maturino Resendiz was charged with one charge of capital murder for the murder of Claudia Benton, but 15 plus others behind it, and he died on June 27, 2006 by lethal injection.
After looking at his MOs and what his victims were like and who they were as a person, I would say he killed them because he couldn't come to terms with who he was and what kind of lifestyle he lived. Some of his victims were gay males that were sexually assaulted as well. I say he killed them because he was homophobic, but also into males himself and didn't know how to deal with it. He stole things to make his life seem better, and after he murdered his victims, he would stick around and live in their home, trying to make his life better than reality.